Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. It is the first Wednesday of the month. It is the month of September 2021. It is a joyous day in my house because finally the kids are all back at school. So it's ready to start focusing on work and getting back into action. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Looking at the end of the year and how are we going to meet our marketing goals as effectively as possible. My name is Trigme. I'm the Director of Business Development here at BusyWeb. I'll be your host today. And thank you for joining us. I know you have a lot of things going on today, a lot of emotions, especially me. I was reminded to not cry only twice by my son. So I felt like that was really good that he only had to tell me twice. And of course, he's 7 years old. Really, what we're going to be talking about today is how do we go back to the future? How do we finish the year as strong as possible as marketers? In order to do that, we're going to have to start by looking in a little backwards. So a little bit about us. If you've never heard of us before, or this is your first Busy webinar, welcome. We are a full service growth marketing agency that is based in Minneapolis and St. Paul in the upper Midwest. We are a platinum partner with HubSpot, and we're also a growth Google partner. Our goal in working with our customers is trying to help them grow. What exactly does growth mean? Well, that's really different for everyone. So we really want to understand how that metric is judged by you, and then we build marketing and websites to actually try and achieve those goals. So let me guess, this was your year today. So at the beginning of the year, you figured out your marketing plan, you figured out the tactics you were going to do, and then you asked for your budget. They gave you the budget. That was great. You started working on your marketing plan. And then, oh, wait a minute, sales needs something new. And man, it wasn't budgeted. Dang. Okay, well, let's figure out how to do that. Oh, now management needs something new. And of course, that's not in the budget either. How exactly are we going to do that? Oh, and can you do this? Just do this one thing. It's super easy. Can you just take care of this? And whew, much like George McFly there, it's time to gear back up and start getting back into it. So then what happens is you did everything that you said you were going to do in the marketing plan, and then the digital landscape changed, the advertising changed. Now all of a sudden there were new social media push-ins. Whoops, now there's a Delta variant that we have to consider. Oh, by the way, sales needs some new literature, and sales is complaining about the lead quality. Can you do something about the lead quality? The leads? Oh, there's not enough leads. And then management comes to you and says, "Well, this all looks good, but could we just make the logo just a scotch bigger and just really make it pop more?" Nobody really knows what pop more means. Why do people even say that? So your tactics are shifting. You're juggling the budget around. You've got 12 different plates that you've got spinning on 12 different sticks. Well, summer's over. It's back to basics. It's back to work. It's time to get back in the swing of things because everybody around the world is now working at 88 miles per hour. So the question of what we're going to ask ourselves today, how exactly are we going to meet our company goals? And oh yeah, by the way, what exactly were those goals again? So let's finish the year as strong as possible. Let's recharge a little. Let's review everything that we've done. Let's regroup, make sure that we can still achieve all of our goals, work on facts, and then tweak our plan for success accordingly. Here's how we're going to break this down today. First of all, I'm going to give you 5 stats to think of and 5 stats to get started in reviewing your marketing plan and making sure that you can finish the year strong. 2, we're going to talk about how to analyze KPIs, which is a fancy marketing term for key performance indicators. 3, we're going to set the plan in motion. And then 4, how do we really get the leads in order to achieve that growth? Okay, 5 stats to think of to get started. Figuring out how your marketing is doing is really the first step. And this is one of those things that when we come in as outsiders, we always want to look at is nothing is really truly ever epically bad. There's a lot of good things that are always happening. The question is what and how well are they working? So what are the stats that we look at? Well, there are a lot of different possibilities, but there are several that work in for us. Number 1 is how many leads are coming in. So when we're talking about how many leads are coming in, we're looking at a number of different things. Number 1, What's the rote count of leads? How many leads are we truly getting in? In what time frame are we looking? It's sort of fun to say, oh yeah, we got 80 leads between now and the beginning of the year, but if our sales team needs 80 leads this month, well, then we need to change some things accordingly. Where are they coming from? As good marketers, we should know exactly where the leads are coming from so we know how to double down on the things that are working. What is the quality of them leads? So how are we getting the leads that are actually sellable, or are we getting the things that aren't actually sellable? So to give you an instance, I told you about my son who's 7 years old. If I gave you my son's name, would that mean I've done my job and generated a lead for you? Well, technically, yes. But on the other hand, he's 7, so he's probably not going to be a good buyer for you. Are they really what sales is looking for? This is what you need to do to get sales to buy in. When they say the leads aren't good, say, what do you need to see differently? Then we want to look at the website stats. Exactly what are we getting? How many unique visitors are we seeing on a regular basis? How many of them are coming back from previous visits? Is our content on our website bringing people back into the fray? How many pages do they look at during the session? If it's under 1, typically they're just looking for a phone number or contact information, or they came to the wrong place. If it's more than that, even better. How long did they spend on the page? The more time, the better. If they're spending 1 or 2 minutes on the page, it means that they're carefully thinking about it and they're good buyers and they're really interested in working with you. What's the bounce rate? How quickly are they leaving, and at what path are they leaving at, and where did the original traffic come from? So once we really have a good understanding of what's coming to our website and really how this website is working as a good tool for us, then we can make evaluative decisions of what do we need to change for the fourth quarter. But if you don't have this information, I really encourage you to put a program called Google Analytics on your website. It's free. It'll give you all of this data, give you the opportunity to really put together some good decision makings. Finally, mobile versus desktop. If you have a lot of people who are in the field who are looking for a solution, making sure your website is mobile responsive is still a big deal. It's still critical. Just this morning, I was speaking to somebody in Georgia who did not have a mobile responsive website. Where are the conversions happening? Really, that's a great question to ask, because is it happening where you think it is, or is it happening in different places? When are people putting up a hand and saying, yes, I really want more help? So website stats, that's the second thing I want you to look at. The third is the keyword rankings. And this is something that I could probably go on and on about and shake my fist like a grumpy old man about, because this is one of the things that I think is so poorly done in our industry. Because the idea behind having a great ranking doesn't really matter if you are not getting the traffic you really want to see. So, for instance, when we're talking about keyword rankings, are you moving up or are you moving down? If you're moving down, the question is, why are you moving down? Over the last 6 months, how has it changed? How has your keyword ranking changed? Has it gone up, stayed the same, been different? And how do you stack up against your competition? So really, keywords are a king of the hill strategy. So you have to be going up, and then for you to be going up, somebody's got to be coming down. And the same holds true for the people who you're competing against. Which one of your pages are ranking, and how effective are they? And do you have any errors or warnings? This is something that a lot of people use SEO to scare you about your website and say that your website's bad or it needs to be fixed. That's not entirely true. A website on the whole is by and large fine, but it needs to do things for you. And if it's not doing those things, then that's a problem. But when the SEO industry is hampered by this terrible term called break fixes. So every 5 days, Google will come by and read your website. And every 2 weeks, Google changes its search algorithm, but it doesn't tell you what the change is. So the only way to really know that is to see what is the difference between what happened today and what happened a week from now after Google came by and changed their search algorithm. And that's what's known in the industry as break fixes. That doesn't mean your website's bad. It just means it needs attending to. Next, I'd like you to look at audience engagement. So when we're talking about engagement, what we're trying to do is get the people who are really interested in our need and what the problem that we can solve, and whether or not they're really evaluating if we're the right solution for the problem. So things to look at. Number one, how much social media engagement have you had over the last 6 months? Is it more or less, or is it sort of petered out? Things within that to look at, things like shares, likes, that kind of thing. So we're really understanding, is this social media platform helpful for us? Or are we just putting stuff out there to put stuff out there? Second, talk to me about our email marketing engagement over the last 6 months. Are we getting more or less? Has our subscriber list gone up or down? How valuable are these emails that we're sending out? Ways to measure that are things like the click-through rate and the open rate. That'll give you a really good understanding of whether or not the lead the email is effective or not. Next, we want to look at conversions, and this is where it really gets exciting. This is where people are putting up a hand and saying, yes, I would like some more information. So when you look at conversions, some things you need to look at are, what's our month-over-month click-through rate? So if somebody looks at an ad and they click on it, it'll take us to our website. What is our month-over-month number for that? Then how many of those people actually convert and say, yes, I've read your website, I've read your material, I'm ready to take the next step, and I'm going to put up a hand and say, yes, I need some help. Much like we look at what is converting, it's also valuable to look at where it's not converting. And is that something that's notable? And is that something that we could potentially change to the good? And then if we understand that, how can we make changes so that we can get those people to convert on those places that aren't converting? In order to do that, we want to analyze the key performance indicators of our marketing plan. So you're going to need to go back in time a little. You see where I've pulled in the GIFs here to talk about this. But let's start with the goals that have been set. So ideally, your goals, and we talk about this a lot on this webinar, are SMART. So the goals that are SMART, they are specific. This is a fun acronym to remember. Measurable, they're achievable, they're realistic, and they're timely. Just saying you want to double the business is not a realistic goal. It's not achievable if you have $1 million in business. If you have $10 in business, tripling the business by the end of the month is absolutely possible. But not if you, so work on making sure that when you set a goal, it's realistic, it's doable, and you could put forth the effort to it, and you can figure out whether or not you can really achieve it. So if you've created a SMART goal, then what you need to ask yourself is, what is a company goals? And these usually, as marketers, get pushed down on us by the higher ups in the C level. And it's not always a marketing goal, but marketing can always help in different things. Things like revenue, things like profitability, things like the type of client, things like growth in the marketplace. All of these things as marketers, we really need to keep our eye on, because the more effective we can put on the front end, the more it will help sales, and more it will help our operations team, and really give us a great amount of visibility within the company. So making sure we understand the company goals are crucial to taking the next step. One step down from that is our marketing goals. So things like conversion rate optimization, how many good leads did we get to sales? And again, that gets back to the question that you want to ask your salespeople. What is a good lead? How does a good lead affect you positively? How usable is our website? Are people using it and dealing with it and running with it and making it go? How much data mining can we get from our website? And how many downloads do we get from our website? Are we offering people anything to get them to throw up their hand and say, yes, I'd like some more information? And then finally, that keyword ranking bit that we talked about a little earlier. How are we being found, and how are those rankings affecting us in a positive way? So once we get our marketing stats, or marketing goals, then what we want to do is compare our 5 key stats to those goals. So the 5 stats that we talked about earlier. Now what we want to do is synthesize this down into a pretty simple list. How many leads are coming in? Are they the right kind of leads? Where are we losing people on our website and through our journey? Are we getting found by the right kind of people? Are those people engaging on our platforms? And then are the conversions the right kind of conversions that we want to get? So to give an example, if somebody called me and said, I want a website, but I only want to spend $50 on it, I'm not a really good fit for that person. So that would be a conversion that would not be in our demographic. Here's another way to look at it. Let's talk about this in terms of the leads and the new business opportunities we get. So take your new monthly booked revenue needed, which is that first number there in step 1. Then take the percentage needed from marketing, not from sales. That's step 2. Then third, enter the average revenue per customer that you get. Fourth, enter your lead to customer rates. And then fifth, enter your visitor to lead conversion rates. So that'll tell you, what do you really need from a monthly visitor standpoint in order to achieve your goal? This is a free tool that's offered through HubSpot. If you have some interest in it, please feel free and reach out to me afterwards. I'll be more than happy to put it in your hands. This is a great tool. It's very easy to put through a funnel and really understand what you get for it. Okay, so now that we understand the basics that we have and the basics of the numbers that really matter from us, now we need to really measure, how does it measure up to our goal? Are we on pace to achieve our goal, or are we not? And if we're not, we need to find the discrepancy between the two. So in math, that's considered a delta. What's the difference between the two? So how many more leads do we need to get to meet our revenue goals? How many new visitors do we need to our website? How are our sales and marketing teams aligned so that when we're talking about leads, we're talking about the right leads and the good leads that make our salespeople happy? How can we engage more people? Are we doing everything that we can, or can we do more, or can we do something a little different? And then how can we convert more people? Are there places that we can pick up yardage just by making a couple little tweaks? And then finally, where are people falling off from their customer path? So within any customer path, you are going to lose people, and that's inevitable, but we want to lose as few as possible. And we want to understand the points that we lose people throughout the process. For us at BusyWeb, typically where I tend to lose people is when they say, well, what is your price? And I say, I don't have a set price, because it's based on what you need, and what you need is often very different than other people. So we didn't just assign it like a cheeseburger. It's variable depending on the work and the need and the competition in order to achieve your goal. Some people get that, some people don't. That's often a point where I lose people on my customer path. Okay. If you understand what that delta is, then you can start setting the plan in motion. Take the information you gathered and set your plan for the rest of the year, which sounds super easy to do, but really what do you need to do to really move the needle to make that happen? First, we need to think, how do we focus our efforts and where do we put our time? So on the website, if we need to have more visitors, more longer page on time, lower bounce rates, more pages viewed, we need to write better content. We need to figure out, how do we attract those people that we've already got and making them convert? We do that through the content. The way we measure that content is by how many pages got viewed. Did we have a longer time on page? Did we get more downloads? Did we get more people clicking through on a call to action? Are we, second, from an SEO standpoint, are we being found more easily? Can we increase our rankings? Can we get more visitors to our site? That went backwards on my animation. I apologize. Next, with pay-per-click marketing, are we increasing our conversions? Are we getting more or less, or can we put more money into it in order to get more people, to get our ads seen by more people? The thing to keep in mind with pay-per-click marketing is, oftentimes there's a value proposition to putting more money into things, but it's not often the case. So it's good to do your research ahead of time to make sure that if you put in twice as much budget, that you're going to get twice the result. Often that happens, and often it doesn't. So next, as we're looking where to focus our efforts, we also want to consider social media. How can we increase our likes and shares and get a higher click-through rate? Again, The value proposition from social media is really to get people to go to your website. And once they're at your website, you want them to do a thing. Usually it's click here, fill out a form, say that you're interested in more information. So how can we leverage social media to get more of those happiness points of likes and shares and kudos in order to get more people to the website? When you're talking about email, that really is a pretty basic formula of who is opening our email, and then whether or not they're taking the action we want them to take. There are other things you can do with an email, like minimizing your bounce rate, staying off the spam reports. So hopefully not a lot of people are telling your email service provider that you're spam. Those are minor compared to improving your click-through rate and your open rate. Those are the two most important things. Okay, so if we're going to really have to do this, we're really going to have to increase our website strategies. How exactly do we need to do that? So if we need to increase our visitors, we need to create longer time on page. How exactly are we going to make this happen? So if you have a CTA, which is a call to action, it should lead to another page or a landing page where people can specify that they're interested in the information. Again, we're filtering down to really understand what people are wanting and how they're wanting it. We can also increase our content on the most valuable pages that we have. If we understand what our most valuable pages are based on traffic, then we want to ask, how do we make them better? We can also have a blog related at the end of the page. So if we're talking about a specific topic, like in my case, as a digital marketing company, if I'm talking about something like web design, I might have 3 blogs related to website hosting, much like on Amazon, with the related product page. The About Us page should be linked on every single page of your site, because you really want people to not only ask the question, can these people solve the problem that I'm having? The next question that people ask in a buyer's journey is, do I want them to? Will I take them at their word to try and take the next step and work with them on it? And really, ideally, you should update your website about once a week in terms of adding new content, changing things, maybe adding a new picture. That'll make the Google search robot as happy as it can be. Okay, so that's the website, but if we're talking about content, and we're taking one step down a little further, how do we do that with respect to content? Things like how do we increase our page views? How do we get people to spend more time on the page? How do we get them to create a really good call to action? So make your content more plain. Talk plainly about the problems that people have that you can solve, and talk about how you can solve them. Second, make sure that your CTAs use action words, things like that inspire people to do something. Click here, do this, read more, and make sure there's one on every single page of your website. Next, have a list of your frequently asked questions throughout the sales process and write blogs about them. Because if they're asked all the time, that's a common thing that every one of your buyers are going to have. So write a list of what those are and answer those questions and post them to your website. Remember, our website is really our storefront. And unlike going to a grocery store, you can't ask questions of those people. So they have to have their information right there. Having those frequently asked questions blown out as a blog gives people the opportunity to A, have an objection, and B, have it answered before they even pick up the phone and talk to you. One of the great things that you can do is create downloadable content. It's a give and get scenario. So if I give you this piece of content, will you give me some information? Things like your name, your company name, your email address, something like that. If you do that, I'd be more than happy to share this content with you. Then you're starting to create some buzz around what you're doing, and you're creating a warmer lead for your salespeople. And finally, make your services pages longer. I know sometimes people go short on this. I would say go much, much, much longer on this. 1,500, 3,000 words, make it big, make it chunky, give people topics that they can come in at different points. All right, so if we're talking about SEO strategies, if we're not being found by enough people, we need to increase our rankings. We need to get more people looking at the website in order to take those calls to action. So if we're doing that, we need to be vigilant on all our break fixes. The things that come up and the errors and warnings, those are based on how Google has tweaked their search algorithm. Now, sometimes people will say, oh, well, Trigby, I can't believe it. I don't always use Google. Why do you always say Google? Well, Google is 98% of the search engine market, either between Google or YouTube. So it's sort of common to say that. Next, make sure your keyword is relevant and make sure it's peppered throughout your content on the website, and make sure that your content, your keyword list is a high traffic keyword. We have a specific keyword that we use at BusyWeb to prove a point. We are #1 on Google for it, and it provides us absolutely no value because it is an absurdly long keyword that nobody actually looks for. So the key with keyword list is not your ranking, but how much traffic you're getting from your ranking. And again, I just said this, make sure your keywords are all in all of your content, but not stuffed. So what is keyword stuffing? That's something where if you read it, it says one particular word over and over and over again. So something to the extent of, for the best plumber in Minneapolis people who need a plumber, or choose Minneapolis's best plumber, something like that, where you say it out loud, it just seems really ridiculous. Don't do that on your website. Key takeaway from this page that I want you to remember is longer pages get found easier and for more keywords, but they have to be conversational and they have to be written contextually, so you're not just throwing keywords in there. Finally, I do want to remind you, as I remind everybody constantly, search engine optimization takes a long time for a payoff. This is a long-term strategic move. If you're going to invest in SEO, it will take 6 months before it really starts to bear any sort of fruit whatsoever. Next, if we're talking about pay-per-click strategies, this is a great way to turn on the hose of leads in order to get more conversions, because you can get more ad seed by more people. And it's pretty easy to do as long as you've got the budget for it. Well, if we're not getting enough people there and we already have a pretty decent budget, we need to look at our ad group demographics. Are we really attracting the kind of people that we want to have that are a potential buyer for us? If we aren't, then let's edit our ad content and try some A/B testing. Let's try 2 different options of the same thing to see whether or not we get a different result. And then let's work with the most successful version. Make sure your links bring the right page to your site. One of the things that we had dealt with earlier in this year is we were working with a company that had the wrong page. They were hosting an event and they were advertising the event. If somebody clicked on the ad, it wouldn't take them to a sign up for the event. It would just take them somewhere else. People's attention spans don't get that, and so they tend to float away. Use landing pages early, often, as many times as you can. These are great ways to synthesize down and really get people to understand what they're really looking for and get people excited about the one thing that's going to make a difference for them. Video gets an unbelievably high click-through rate. You don't have to have great, unbelievably cool video. You just have to have something really nice. You can do that with a lot of free tools. One of the tools I use is a program called Vidyard to make free videos that I send people to make them feel a little bit more special. Next, social media strategies. If we're not getting enough likes and shares, especially shares, how do we increase our click-through rate on social media? So use some humor. Key here is some. You can be a little funny, not a lot funny, and you have to make sure that your funny isn't offensive to anybody else. If you're not sure if it's funny to anybody else, then you shouldn't do it. Or if you ask somebody, if you feel like you should ask somebody, then you absolutely shouldn't do it. It's not funny to somebody else. One of the great things you can use social media for is to show your company culture, show what you're doing, show what you are participating in around the office, even virtually. What are you doing around the office? Now, one of the things that we do at BusyWeb is we're creative people, so we make funny videos now and again. And sometimes I get feedback, I don't like your funny videos. Well, That's fine if you don't like our funny videos, if you don't think they're professional, whatever, that's cool. But chances are good, if you don't think we're funny in a funny video, you're probably not going to like working with us, because that's just the kind of people we are, and that's the kind of culture we have. So that's okay if that happens. That's a good way to weed out the people who might not be working with you. Everything on social media, though, has to be linked back to your website, and it has to go somewhere. So don't let it just sit on social media. Make it a means to an end, and make sure that it's pushed somewhere else. Great way to add things to social media is by linking to articles that you've blogged about and getting people to read a little bit of a snippet on social media and then pushing them back to the website. The other thing to do is to share your email newsletter. I know that seems weird, but you've made your newsletter, share it with your social media folks and make sure that they see it too. And here's a fun pro tip, make sure that your email newsletter has a subscribe button on it, so that if it's shared with somebody else, that somebody else can subscribe as well. Finally, update your imagery. A lot of times you'll see companies leave images on their website of people who don't work there anymore or aren't part of the crew anymore. If that happens, that's fine. You can just let them go, but still let the images go, but still keep the most current things on there as possible. Finally, with email strategies, we might need to improve our click rate and our open rate. Those are the two most important things that I said before. Don't email out a full PDF. Make it interactive, make people want to do stuff with it. When you do write an email newsletter, put in short copy that points back to more info on your website. And video is fantastic in email because it gets people excited and it makes people want to watch it. Use engaging imagery that actually makes sense for you and provides value to you. And all the links in the email should go back to your website. Again, what we're trying to do with any external marketing tool like social or email is get people to look at your website. And then clean your lists. It's probably time. It's always a good time to clean your list. If you have people who haven't opened your email in 6 months, they're probably not worth continuing to send your email to. Make sure that your list is getting open. Make sure it's getting used on a regular basis. So, okay, now we've gotten into this past the strategy. Now, really, what we want to do is get those leads. So we've done the strategies. We're going to update our new tactics. Now, how do we warm up those leads before sales picks up the phone and has to talk to them? We do that through a process called inbound marketing. So once somebody's done one thing and said, yes, I'm interested in taking the next step, now what we want to do, and that's that give get stuff that I've talked about before, we want to capture that information with a form. Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll give you this piece of content. Once you've done that, then you can start nurturing them in a polite and engaging way that isn't clubbing them over the head. Something like showing other relevant examples like blogs or case studies or something that shows that you've solved a similar problem that they might be having. You do that through CTAs. You do that through the second email. You don't ask for anything right away. You just start with saying, hey, would you be interested in talking some more? And ultimately, what you want to do is provide them with some information, because if you've created this trackable system of information, when your salespeople come in, they should be able to see, here's what people looked at, here's what people were interested in, and then sales was able to close it appropriately. This is a big thing that we talk about a lot at BusyWeb, is sales and marketing alignment, because if your sales team isn't functioning as well as your marketing team or vice versa, then you've got some conflict. So what we recommend people do is meet up with the sales team up front to discuss the marketing to sales handoff. So when somebody comes out of marketing, how do we then give them, the salespeople, what they need? From that meeting, really what you get is you get an understanding of both sides of what their expectation is and what they need to do in order to close a sale. And really what you want is you want sales' input is, when is the lead warm enough to give it to sales? Ultimately, you need to back it down about 2 degrees from what your salespeople tell you, because really what they want to be is just order takers and get people just to say yes. But what's an acceptable level of warm to give a lead to sales. The way in which you do that is you score the lead. So if you have a lead that has particular characteristics, once it reaches a certain number, then it really goes over to sales. So what exactly is a certain number? Well, if they visited the website, they get a point. If they filled out a form, they get 5 points. If they downloaded a piece of information, they get 10 points. And then once somebody hits 15 points, then they get delivered to the salespeople to say, hey, you really should check these people out. The way in which you do this most effectively is you gather information in your CRM so that your salespeople know more about the prospect than they need before they contact them. The best sales engagement that you can make as a salesperson is by just being helpful, not trying to have an agenda, not trying to make a sale, not trying to close something. Hey, how can I help? I see you looked at a couple of things. Let's talk about that. How is this affecting you? It's important to understand the difference then between the marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead. Marketing qualified lead is somebody who does one of those things, not everything, just one of those things, like a form on your website. And a sales qualified lead is somebody that has been nurtured high enough that it needs to be reached out and be contacted. Now, these are two variable terms that are going to mean something different to every organization. So I'm not going to qualify this a little further, but these are great discussions to have with a sales team and a marketing team. And then you also want to get feedback from the sales team on a regular basis. So what are they getting? And how many MQLs and SQLs came in? What did they do with them? How was the quality? Is it something that they're really excited about? Or if they're not, how do you tweak the messaging? How do you tweak the demographics? And where are people following off in the nurturing campaigns? If you do this, then all of a sudden the salespeople know that you're in it for them, which means that they're going to be much more apt to share with you the information you need to move forward, to help synthesize your program even better. That being said, it's important to also track your goals. You know, we talked earlier today about reviewing your goals and then making sure that you're leading towards it. Try tracking them as well on a regular basis. So one of the programs that we have, we track a lot of different goals for our customers on a regular monthly basis, so we can always tell them at a glance what's happening. So how close are we to hitting the goal? What tweaks do we need to be made? What are we doing differently in order to achieve those goals? The value in doing this is that we're never going to have to wonder what we need to do. We can always tell management, we can always tell sales how progress is going, and we can tell that we're really achieving our goals. Also, we should have an idea of where things are falling off so that when next year, when we start our budget planning process, we've got some great ideas for budget time. Whew, all right, that was a lot of information in a quick amount of time. So I want to say that if I went over something too fast, please reach out to me after the fact. I'd be more than happy to share and go into things with a little more detail for you. So here's what we talked about. We talked about 5 statistics to get started, how to analyze your key performance indicators, how to set your new plan, and then how to get those leads. As a thank you for joining us today, I do have a digital marketing guide to help you out to how to get started with a digital strategy. That'll be something that'll be emailed out to you for participating and staying with me as long as you get. Next webinar we're going to do is going to be on October 6th. We're going to talk about how to boost your marketing results with a great CRM. That's going to be a fantastic program. I'm really excited about that, and I hope you'll be able to come see it as well. My name is Trigvi. This is a picture of me along with my contact information. If you have more questions, more information you need, or you just need a friend, please by all means reach out to me. I can't wait to talk more to you and can't wait to learn more about you and how we can be helpful here at BusyWeb. This has been our busy webinar for September. I hope everybody has a great and safe fall, and we will see you next month.